All right, well, it is good to be indoors in the AC, right? Those who had tents out there, I was thinking you could come next week and like sell tickets to those things, make a lot of money. Don't do that. Actually, that was a joke. All right. So listen, really glad that you're here. We set out with a series at the beginning of the year, if you guys remember, and the series was Independence 2021, and it had a lot less to do with the fact that our church is going to be independent in 2022, but it had a lot more to do with if we're going to be a church that is on our own as an independent church, breaking away from CCC, then we are going to have to be both dependent on God and on each other. And I just want you to know that I've only experienced that in my 6 months now that I've been here. And it's been so amazing. And so we want to be as open and transparent with you today about what's going on. And this is one of the first members meetings. Well, it is the first members meeting that we will have as an independent church. And this is the kind of stuff I want you to know that you should be expecting as we move forward, to know what's going on, to have a little bit of information about where we are financially, to have information on staff that are joining us, and all kinds of things. And so we hope that this is good for you. At the very end, I want to tell you, we are going to have a Q&A time, but it's going to be out in the atrium. And so if you have questions, our leadership team is actually going to be divided up in pairs, and they're going to be out in kind of each corner as you go out. And you can ask your question to one of those leadership team members. You can also just go and introduce yourself if you don't know who they are, because we want you to know them. This is a great transition into our time to introduce the leaders. So guys, would you come up here? I'm going to introduce you. All right, these fine-looking men, these guys mean so much to me. Honestly, a lot of these guys are the reason that Jillian and I wanted to come here. We spent time with every single one of them before, and they interviewed us, and they hired us to be here. And so these guys mean so much to me. And one of the things I told them too is we were interviewing with you, but we were also kind of interviewing you. We're like, are we going to like these guys? We love these guys. We love these guys. They're loyal. They want to see this church succeed, and they bring all different gifts. So I'm just going to pass the mic. If you guys would just introduce yourself and maybe just your family, and we'll go fairly quickly through.
Mark Knabe and my wife Barb, right in the second row.
Matt Smith. I know my wife Jennifer is doing the kids ministry welcome group area right now, and my daughter is helping out. Rachel Smith is going into college next year, and my 5th grade son is Elijah Smith, and he's back home right now.
Bob Weishar, and my wife Susie is somewhere out there. There she is. The better half, for sure.
Wife is.
Yeah, I know.
He lost his wife already. My name is Rick Shuping, and my wife is in the second row, Bob, right there. I can keep an eye on her up there.
I'm John Jones. My wife Lisa is right over here. My daughter Riley is right in the back and getting ready to leave on the missions trip later today.
Hard to follow that. My name is Dan Lane. My wife Carla is in the third row on the left side. We have 2 kids, Malachi, who's 10, and Naomi, who's 8.
And I am known as Kara's husband, since she's up here who sings. My name's Will Bursch, and we've got 3 little ones. So yeah.
Awesome. Kara's husband. You guys, if you don't know Kara, she sings on Sundays. She's amazing. So, all right. So, thanks, guys. I want to tell you about 2 other guys who are on vacation, who couldn't be here. The first one, I believe, is Rob Eberly. So that's Rob and Kathy. And they're on a trip that they've been waiting to take since the pandemic, and so I'm glad they can be there. And then the next one are Jeff and Courtney Rarica. So Jeff is on our team as well. And those are their two boys. They have they have a little girl as well that they had in the last maybe year or so. So this is our team. So thanks, guys. Go ahead and have a seat. Yeah. All right, I want to just take a moment and recognize, too, we have also a group of deacons that serve here so faithfully. If you're a deacon and you're in here, would you stand for me? Would you guys make yourselves known? Yeah, let's thank these guys. Thank you. These deacons, they were here at 6:30 this morning, hauling, staging, and all of that sort of thing. These guys serve so faithfully. I wanted to just be clear, too, on the difference between the deacons and the leadership team. So we'll talk more about the leadership team because really they're going to be moving towards what really will be the elders of the church. And so as a leadership team, they really help bring accountability and structure and support to me as I lead this church. The deacons are really a group of incredible men who serve like nobody's business, and they meet monthly. They meet to discuss. We try to bring them in the loop on everything that's going on, and they just try to do whatever they can to serve the church. That's what deacon means, and that's why I name. Oh, never mind. So. That's a really important group of people that you need to know. All right. Aaron, go ahead and put the independence slide up there with the, there you go. So I put this in front of all of you back maybe a month and a half ago, and I told you these are kind of the big buckets of things that we need to do to get towards independence. And so I have color-coded them in order to show you kind of where we're at. All right, so, and we're going to cover several of these today, not all of them, but first thing is that we've been working together as a church, as a leadership team, to come and a staff as well, to develop our church's unique identity and vision. That's something that we're going to be rolling out in the fall to all of you. We're still honing it, but we have a lot of work that we've completed on that, all right? And so just a side note on that, if you are here and you are a member, or if you're not a member, one of the things we're going to be doing in the fall is we're going to be telling you exactly what our vision is for this church and where we're going, and have an opportunity for you to either become a member for the first time or just simply recommit. Simply say, hey, love where we're going, I'm all in. All right, and we're going to make it as simple as possible, but this is kind of going to be our early adapters rollout. I'm going to call it kind of a soft launch of our church before we launch it to everybody else. Okay, so that's going to happen in September, right after Labor Day. Our church's name, I'm going to get to that in just a second. It's killing some of you. Leadership structure. All right, ministry map, what do all our programs look like? Okay, we're in progress with that one. That's why it's orange. And then we have legal matters and financial matters and branding and promoting, some of which you're going to hear today. All of those are still red because we still very much have work to do in those areas. And so here we go. There'll be a few updates today, and then you'll get more as we go. How about we get to the name? It's about time. Okay, so it's exciting. It's exciting. So we set out to get a new name. We had you as church members contribute your submissions, and you guys put some great ones in. I think in the end, the name came from one of our members, which is really cool. But we spent a lot of time as a leadership team taking time thinking through the naming process, what we wanted out of this name, and all of those things, and we came to a name that I think we really like. A few things about the name is we wanted to make sure that the name identified who we are right now, because this church, as it moves forward, is going to be an independent church, but we already exist as a church. So we wanted it to capture our identity now and yet an identity for us as we move forward. We wanted it to be local. But we also wanted it to not have the word Aurora in it. And the reason why is because we felt like the church pulls from a lot, actually 50% of us are coming from other communities. And we didn't want anything to be a barrier for you bringing your friends and neighbors. But we did want it to have a local Aurora connection, and you'll see that it does, okay? And we also wanted it, obviously, to glorify God. And so with all of those things said, one of the things that I said early on when I was trying to think of names is I said, what is Aurora known for? What is Aurora known for? Give me something. And somebody goes, what's that? Cheese. Yeah, cheese. Thank you. Yeah, did you know that Aurora was the cheese capital of the world, I guess? I don't know. There was a cheese factory back in the late 1800s that shipped 4 million pounds of cheese all across. So I'm like, great, thanks, cheese. So what are we going to call this place? Cheese City? So anyway, but it's interesting because one of our leadership team members who knows a lot about the history of this church started talking about how actually there was a cheese factory that started a long time ago, and it had a river that ran right next to it that actually runs like a couple hundred yards that way behind our church. And there was a name of this river, and I'm not telling you the name because it'll give it away. And so we are going to be, our new church name is going to be Silver Creek Church. Silver Creek Church. So, all right. And go ahead and put that next slide up, Aaron. Just so you know, that cheese factory is actually called Silver Creek Cheese Factory. It actually ended in a flood way back in the late 1800s. And they named the Aurora branch of the Chagrin River that goes right by that factory, right across 82 back here and behind us. They named it Silver Creek. And actually, if you look on the map, you won't see that because it's the Aurora branch of the Chagrin River, but they named it Silver Creek. So we're thinking about getting Google Maps to edit it. So you can, literally, you can do that, I guess. So you can submit that. But with all that said, Silver Creek is going to be our new name. We were really hoping that we would connect it to this community, that there'd be deep roots here, that somebody who is from this community, even if they didn't know Jesus, would have an appreciation for that name. And not only that, but as the scripture says there, whoever believes in me, Jesus said, as the scripture said, out of his heart flows rivers of living water. And so there's definitely some spiritual parallels with Silver Creek as well, which we're excited about. So that's our name. Yeah. Okay. Don't leave, though. You got to stay for the rest. So, okay. Next thing I want to talk about is our leadership structure as we move forward. Okay, so one of the things that we have completed is our constitution that tells you everything about how this church is going to be run. And so as of later today, the Constitution will actually be posted to our website so you can see just how we're going to run everything in this church. Some of you you're not going to want to read it. It's a ton. But for those of you who really love to read through all of that, go ahead, have at it. You can see how we're going to structure things, what my job will be as senior pastor, what the elders' jobs will be to govern this place and all of that. Okay, so you can check that out. But part of the leadership structure is that it will be an elder-governed church. And so we will have 9 elders that we'll start with, and we will have an opportunity to nominate 3 new elders every single year, and it will go by the calendar year. Okay, but we have to start somewhere. And the best place to start for me, after I've gotten to know these guys, is with the guys who have really got us here in a lot of ways. And so what we're going to do is these men in addition, and we're going to add one because one of them is actually leaving, which is a bummer. You'll hear more about that later. But we're going to add one, and these men will begin their elder terms in January, and 3 of them will be 1-year terms, 3 of them will be 2-year terms, 3 of them will be 3-year terms. Okay, so then after that, we will cycle through. There will be 3 that roll off, 3 that roll on that are nominated and approved by all of you. Okay, so part of why I wanted you to see them up here is that even now, as the future elders, you are, these are my nominations, these are our nominations, and you are allowed to present concerns if you have concerns about any of these elders being fit to serve in that role. Yeah, I know, sorry guys. So I just want to encourage you, this is a serious, important role because these guys are the guys I answer to. These guys are the guys who keep me accountable as a leader. And my life is open to them completely. But they're really an important role moving forward. So that's the leadership structure. Okay, I am going to now invite John Jones up. John is going to give you some important information on our financial history. Welcome up, John Jones.
Thank you, Todd. So let me just make sure I get this straight. You got to reveal the name, and I have to go over financials. They're still here, so thank you, everyone. All right, so let me start out just by sharing a little bit of history. So this church started out as a former offshoot of Lakeview Chapel that combined with Christ Community Chapel back when Christ Community Chapel was thinking about launching satellite branches. So many of you were here. Actually, who in the room was here at the time when Lakeview? Thank you, many of you. And then how many of you were here when we began our building expansion? That's what, over half at least. So many of you may remember the old church, and you see pictures of it there, the construction process, plans for the new church. But I thought I'd spend just a couple of minutes, and it'll become obvious why in another couple of minutes, but going over just a little bit about that project and what it cost. So as you see, that back in, it actually started in 2014, some of the initial planning, but in 2015 and into 2016, all of the construction actually occurred. And you'll see the original budget that is up there was $2.9 million. When we finished construction, for a variety of reasons I won't go into today, it came in a little bit more than that. So we ended up spending $3.7 million here to build this facility, to renovate the old church, and to make it the wonderful place that we have today. Now, the way that we paid for that at the time, we asked for members and attenders to prayerfully consider donating to a building campaign. And we raised almost $700,000 in the 2-year period in which the building was being constructed. And the way that CCC allowed all of this to happen was that we were intended to raise 1/3 of the construction costs ourselves. CCC was going to gift us another 1/3, and then the remaining 1/3 would be a loan that we'd repay over a 10-year period. So CCC actually gave us almost $920,000 when we started out. Our fundraising came in just a little bit shy of where we hoped it would be, but it was still significant. And so you'll see we ended up with an original loan balance of just over $2 million. In the 5 years since we opened our doors, Easter of 2016, I believe, we've paid that down to about $800,000 now. So we have a little less than 5 years remaining at the end of this year when we go independent. So that is the amount that we will need to transition from Hudson into our own loan, which we will go seek here over the next 6 months. I'm going to go to the next slide, please. So keep that in the back of your mind. I just wanted to quickly take a few minutes and share how faithful all of you have been in giving to this church and what our expense picture has looked like over the last couple of years. So the red are our annual expenses, Oh, by the way, the fiscal calendar that we have now and that will continue in the future actually runs from July each year to the following June. So it's not a traditional calendar year. And part of that, just in case you're wondering, is in the life of a church, the giving follows a slightly different cycle. December, for example, is a huge month in a church's giving. And so if we did it the other way, our biggest month of the year will come at the very end, which would make it challenging to understand as you're budgeting and trying to understand expenses. Are we on track or are we not on track? So we run a little bit of an off-cycle fiscal calendar. But you'll see that back in 2017 and 2018, our giving significantly outpaced our expenses. And in 2018 and 19, and then even in 2020, giving was a little bit less, but it is starting to come back healthy. And if you actually look at last year, 2019 into 2020, so the last couple months, COVID obviously occurred. Giving dropped off as attendance dropped off since we stopped meeting in person. Since then, things have really come back very strongly. So the last one, 2020 into 2021, so June is the last month of this fiscal year. So we have 11 months that are already reflected in the giving, and there's an estimate for both giving and expenses for the remaining month. But we should come in somewhere in the neighborhood of almost $100,000 in excess of our expenses this year as we head out into independence, and especially since most of that year, 9 months of the year, will really during a pandemic cycle, which is extremely challenging, as you can all understand. So we are in a really good place in terms of our financial position. Let me just share on the next slide what our first year annual budget will look like. And I won't go into this in tremendous detail, but as a church, it costs a little over $800,000 a year to run everything you see, inclusive of, and the largest expense is really people cost, staff, salaries and benefits, and medical expenses and things like that. Of course, then there are a variety of operating costs with all of the utilities and the snow removal and things that it takes to take care of the church here. And then you'll see some others, our loan payment, which I'll talk about in just another second, the ministries that we run and serve, outreach programs. So altogether, it's a little bit over $800,000. So again, giving has been at or above this every year for the last 4 years. So we feel really good about where we're at. So last slide, I mentioned the loan. Our next part in the process is that we're getting ready now that we have a name. So a lot of things hinged on certain pieces of the puzzle here. So we needed a name so that we could set up a 501(c) nonprofit for this church. Now we can also go out and begin to gather bids for our loan. So we have an RFP process that we've already put together, and we've got a number of financial institutions already lined up that we're going to go talk to secure the best funding that we can. So one thing that also has to happen, CCC has to vote congregationally, which would include you all, for us to go independent and to transfer the deed to the property, buildings, and assets here to us. And the elders there have already agreed to that. So it just requires a church vote, which I think will largely be a formality. But they're actually, I guess, gifting us an asset here. We've got some preliminary estimates that the church, the land, and everything that you see is probably somewhere in the $2.5 to $3.5 million range. So we're going out to ask for a loan, but we have a significant amount of equity already in this place. So we're confident that we'll be able to secure that. It should roughly be, I think we're looking at a 15-year note with monthly payments on the mortgage for this then of around $6,000 to $7,000, which was baked into the last slide's budget. So I'll close. I just want you to know that we feel really good about the financial health and stability of the church and our ability to go independent and have enough, call it positive cash flow, both to build up our cash reserves and also to begin to increase the amount that we spend on ministry and outreach, which I'm sure Todd will talk about a lot more. Okay? Thank you.
All right, and I did want to mention that, John, that part of what you saw on the pie chart is not nearly enough is going towards outreach, and that's really a lot because we have joined hands with CCC for quite a while and been a part of everything that's happening there. But I want you to know, this is a little sneak peek, and one of my goals is that we would get to a place where 10% of everything that comes into this place goes out of this place for global and local outreaches, and so but we've got to get there. So we will. So one more thing about the name too. I just thought of this as I was sitting there is that this name will take place in effect in January, and until then, we are still going to be CCC Aurora. So you don't have to make sure you remember that it's Silver Creek now. All of a sudden, we're going to be, and this is not our logo either. It's not a logo. We are in the process of working with all the branding too, which will be really exciting. Okay. Next, what I want to do is introduce you to our new staff. I know some of you know these people, but we want to make sure you are very aware of them. So Rick and Caitlin and Dom. Where's Dom? Is Dom in here? Oh, Dom, come on up. Rick, come on up. Caitlin, come on up. I didn't think you went on a mission trip yet, Dom. So, all right. So I just wanted you guys to hear from them just for a couple questions. So first of all, give us. They're supposed to be prepared for this. Give us some interesting fact about yourself, okay? And then after that, just so you know what else is coming, what are you excited about being on staff here? Caitlin, you want to go first? All right, go ahead.
I just have to say, well, first of all, I'm Caitlin Ramey, and I am the kids director here at the Aurora campus. And I actually started here in 2011, so it's been really sweet for me to see some familiar faces and friends, and then some new faces, so I'm excited to connect with all of you in the coming months. But one thing you may not know about me is I have a dislike of heights. But one thing I've done to try to conquer that is because the other side of me is I don't like to miss out on anything fun or an adventure. So I've done things to try to conquer that, like, I don't know, go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. So if you're afraid of heights, why not just do that? When my kids ask me to go on roller coasters, I go, but I scream so loud, I'm pretty sure I embarrass the heck out of them. But I do it anyway because they wanted me to do it. So I just don't want to miss out on those fun things with my kids. So. Oh, right. So my husband, Joe, is not here today because my youngest, she's not feeling well. So we opted to have them just stay home. But I have 4 kids, 16 all the way down to 7, 2 boys, 2 girls. So they will be here next Sunday. So you will get to see all of them or see them grown if you remember them being much younger when we were here before. So I'm excited about that. Yep.
And just wanted to tell you, too, really excited about Caitlin being here. I really think she's going to do a wonderful job with our kids ministry. She has a lot of experience in kids ministry over a number of years, and plus a lot of you already know her, which is really good. So, all right. Next is Rick Shuping, and Rick is actually going to come on part-time as our church administrator. Really, Rick is a godsend to us because he is going to handle everything that's not directly ministry related here, so that I can focus. He gives me the chance to focus on everything's ministry related, but he gives me the chance to focus on leading this church and shepherding, and he's going to take care of a lot of the facilities, the finances, the HR, all of that's going to be Rick. And if you know anything about Rick, he's worked at the Hudson campus in that type of role for 15, 16 years, something like that. So anyway, Rick, introduce yourself.
You just did, I think. Any questions? I'm really excited about being here, though. Ellen and I, this has been our church home for over 5 years now, I think. And so even though I've been working over at Hudson, this has been our home. And so I was just really excited to see Todd come over here and make this official to kind of leave there and come over here. And everything he said, I'll try and do my best. And anything else he needs me to do, I'll do that as well. It's things you don't know about me. This is really weird. I used to actually have hair, long long blonde hair, kind of like Caitlin's. I look like a beach dude, you know. But no, I guess I would say I married a really beautiful Italian girl who knows how to cook really well. But in our house, I'm the primary cook because while she cooks good, she doesn't like to cook, and I love to cook. So if you ever come over to my house or get together, I will treat you to a good meal.
All right. Thanks, Rick. And then Dominic Massa. We say Dominic because we don't want you to think we're saying Don with an N, because people have been calling him Don. So glad Don's here. This is Dom, okay, with an M. Dom is going to be our student ministry, is our student ministry pastor. And fun fact about Dom is that actually I had him in my middle school ministry growing up. So I was thinking about it. It's really pretty cool how, Mark was my youth pastor, like I was Dom's youth pastor. It's the way it should happen, right? It's the way it should happen. So Dom, tell them a little about yourself.
Yeah, well, hey again, I'm Dom Massa. You can call me Dom. I love just that short and abbreviated version. It's way more friendly than the full Dominic. I might think you're my angry mother if you say Dominic. She's not angry often, but when she is, the full name comes out. Dominique, yeah. Well, yeah, I grew up in the area. Like Todd said, I got to be part of his middle school ministry, and that's actually where I came to know Jesus for the first time. So meeting students where they're at and introducing them to a God who can change everything about them is a huge part of what I love to do, and I'm really excited to be doing that here. I spent 4 years in Chicago at Moody studying. I know we've got a few Moody people, not in personality, only in education. And that 4 years in Chicago was really formative, really showed me Jesus in a new way. And then I've spent 2 years on staff at Hudson. I got to launch a college ministry there. That's at Kent State University now. So really exciting stuff's happening through that ministry. It was a hard thing to leave, but it was so sweet to be able to leave that place for this place. And I think that's how God works when he calls you places. So no coincidence we're in a series called The Call. And that's why I'm here today, is because of a layered calling that God started way back when. Some fun things that you should know about me. I'll give you a variety package. You're not just going to get one, you're going to get a few. I, like the Scholl family, love Crocs. A few of your kids rolled up to church today in Crocs, and it made my heart leap. Also, Tyson Cromines loves Crocs. Lori says no. So if you love Crocs, you have a comrade here. I love Crocs. What else? I'm also terrified of heights. And then there was another one. I'm blanking on it. You'll have to find me at another point in time, and I will spill my beans. I'm a coffee snob, so if you know of great coffee places, speaking of beans, hook a brother up.
Thanks. Give our staff a round of applause. Thanks. Thank you, guys. You can have a seat. All right. So we are almost done, and we are staying true to my 45-minute promise. All right. So lastly, I'd like to invite Dan Lane up. Dan's on our leadership team, and he has a few announcements to kind of close us out. So come on up, Dan. Give Dan a round of applause. Thanks.
Thanks. All right, so we'll call it a few just additional housekeeping items before we close this out today. So the first one, so we just met the kind of current staff and everything to take us forward. Well, with that comes the opportunities to fill a few additional staff roles. So I'll start with one that's a little more nuanced. So John shared earlier some financial considerations in taking out a loan and the restructuring of some of our debt. That actually creates the opportunity for us to bring on an associate pastor who I would say their salary is going to be commensurate with experience, likely someone coming out of their bachelor's, few years or something with that, with the idea of kind of maybe a long-term succession plan in there, but someone to really help support Todd along the way. So that will be an opening that you'll see shortly. The other one is an administrative assistant / communications director. So similar to Rick's role, there's a lot of just administrative pieces and stuff that we'll need to help support Todd along the way, and this role is vital to that as well. So the ask that'll be in working in human resources for quite a while are referrals. So the best way for us to get kind of our name out there and these opportunities and generate excitement is for you to pass that along, share them, things like that. If you have other candidates and things like that, feel free to send them to anyone of the leadership team, Todd, myself, as well. All right, so that takes care of kind of future staff openings. The next thing is that Todd mentioned someone from our leadership team dropping off and the opportunity to add someone. So with that, I'd like Will and Kara to stand up for a minute. All right, so I don't know, some of you might know this already, but Will and Kara are actually trading one family for real family. So basically our family here that they've known and loved and we've really appreciated and we can't imagine being without them, they're going to actually move north for some reason to be closer to, again, with real family in that as well. But we're going to miss them. We can't imagine. I just wanted to say a quick few words about both. So Will has just had an amazing connection to the community, to our schools, to our kids here. Also, as a part of the leadership team, he's never been one to shy away from tough conversations, and I've appreciated his integrity, and we'll greatly miss that. And Kara, as well, as Will mentioned, not Will mentioned, gosh, as Todd mentioned, it'll be hard to fit your presence both on stage and off stage. And just your presence and stuff and worship and just the joy that you bring, it makes us all easy to get into it. And also just the relationship and the presence you bring, just in keeping everyone and making us feel like family. We'll miss you both. Thank you. It's going to be really, really tough, if ever, to replace or fill their shoes. All right, the next thing is that I'll mention is we set up an email address for questions. So obviously you'll have some questions about today, which you can catch us in the atrium afterward. But we also want to have a resource where as you're thinking about things through the weeks and months, you have a place to go where you can send us a note and get a pretty quick response. All right, so that email address, I don't know if we have it offhand to pull up, but it's independence@cccchapel.com. All right, and we'll make sure to publicize that pretty good so you know what it is. There's a few of us who are actually on that email, so we'll receive it, and then we'll get back to you as quickly as possible, or if we need more information, we'll simply ask for it. But feel free to send us any question at any time. All right, so that email again is independence@cccchapel.com. All right. And at this point, I'm going to pray to close us out. But before I do so, I'd like the leadership team to head on out to the atrium. So again, you're looking for two fairly well-dressed men looking really excited. All right? That's right. All right. So let them get out there. Again, we're really excited to answer any questions that you have. No questions off the table or anything like that. All right. Let me pray us out. Dear Lord, we just thank you and praise you for this just tremendous opportunity to gather before you. In everything, we ask that you just open up our ears and our hearts, that we can just hear your moves for us, hear the direction that you want to take this church and its people. We thank you again for everyone, just the ability to gather here today. We ask you just create excitement, just generate that feeling of community that we long for everyone who comes in here and even outside of here as well. Please just again, just bless our time together. In your name, amen.